everyone, this is Karen.
Hey everybody, I'm Shane.
Today we have our translation practice, but why do you sound so sad?
Because I encountered a failure recently.
Really? What kind of failure have you encountered?
I was trying to use my smartphone and then suddenly it froze up and then I couldn't use it, and that was just before now.
Okay.
And now I'm just feeling a little bit upset.
Because you tried fixing it and you just couldn't do it.
I just couldn't do it. I failed.
Are you just going to give up?
Probably. Should I? I shouldn't give up?
No.
No?
That's not what you do when you experience failure.
Oh, you buy a new one, right? I get a new iPhone?
No. I think you should try again. Don't give up. Sometimes your failures can teach you a lesson or two.
Yeah, maybe I'll learn, like, why did the phone crash? Maybe I shouldn't take so many selfies so fast.
That's right.
Because then the phone just loses battery. Maybe it's just the battery.
And sometimes failures are really important in our lives, right? It really helps us, it's a motivation for us to grow, right? To try new things.
Of course, yeah, to be quite serious. Failure isn't really failure. Failure can just be a learning process. And
a stepping stone to success.
To success. So you can think of a failure very ironically. You can think of it as success. So failure can equal success. Success.
That's very interesting.
Interesting, right?
So next time when you guys experience failure, do not give up.
Yes, you are a success. A great big success.
All right. Enjoy today's lesson.
Enjoy.
Translation practice. Practice A.
Many countries observe Arbor Day to encourage both groups and individuals to plant trees. This holiday also reminds people to protect the ecological environment on which all living things depend.
Hi, my name is Jeff.
And I'm Hanny.
Welcome to this month's translation practice lesson. Today we'll be translating 4 sentences from Chinese into English. Okay, I say we get started.
Okay, the first sentence of the day is 今天要翻译的第一句是许多国家庆祝植树节，以鼓励团体和个人都来种树。那么主词是许多国家，动词是庆祝。那么植树节的英文我们可以说 Arbor Day， 或者是把它直译成 Tree Planting Day。那这个句子在陈述事实，所以我们时态用现在简单式。
Okay, now often when you observe something, you examine or you watch something carefully or you note something. That's not quite the case here. Observe or celebrate. Here, to observe a holiday is to celebrate that holiday. If you observe a holiday, you might hold that day sacred. You might feel or acknowledge that it's special, etc. For example, my Jewish friends always observe the Sabbath.
犹太教徒会庆祝安息日 Sabbath， 那这对他们来说是神圣的日子。刚刚 Jeff 老师用到 sacred 这个字，就是用来形容神圣的。好，那我们来看 observe 和 celebrate 这两个动词都可以表达庆祝。那同学们可能有学过 observe 的那种观察或是注意到的意思，不过呢，它也可以用来表达节日的庆祝，那就跟 celebrate 的意思相同。例如 some people observe Christmas Day on January 7th. 有些人是在1月7日庆祝圣诞节。Well, I know some Jews who observe the Sabbath and some Christians too. Only Christians don't take the Sabbath quite as seriously as Jews do.
Well, anyway, it's time to talk about a phrase. Let's talk about what it means to encourage somebody to do something. Encourage somebody to verb. 加油加油
加油
Go for it! You can do it! If you're saying things like these, you are probably encouraging somebody to do something. To encourage somebody to do something is to give them hope and support. You help them out by making them feel more confident, hopeful, or determined. For example, the teacher encouraged his students to study harder.
那位老师鼓励他的学生更加用功。那么 encourage 这个动词就有鼓励或者是促进助长的意思。我们可以用 encourage somebody to 加原形动词来表达鼓励某人做某事。例如 she encouraged her grandkids to chase their dreams. 她鼓励她的孙子努力追求自己的梦想。Okay, let's go over a bit of grammar.
Let's get technical.
Ooh.
Both groups and individuals. Now, suppose you have this structure, both A and B. What must be true of A and B? Well, here are a couple of things to remember. First, the phrase must be followed by the word are or some other plural verb. Second of all, A and B must be of the same part of speech. Remember those things. For example, both groups and individuals will be subject to the same rules.
团体和个人都将受到相同的规定约束。那我们先来看 both A and B 就可以用来表达说 A 和 B 都怎么样。那么 A 和 B 必须是词性相同的字词。要特别注意的是，以 both A and B 来当主词用的时候呢，必须搭配复数动词。例如 both Jane and her sister are YouTubers. Jane 和她妹妹都是 YouTuber。好，那我们现在要翻译说团体和个人都怎么样，就可以写作 both groups and individuals。好，那么现在看完相关文法之后，你可以翻译整个句子喽。So the sentence could be
Many countries observe Arbor Day to encourage both groups and individuals to plant trees.
Okay, let's take a look at sentence number 2 of our lesson. 今天要翻译的第二句是，这个节日也提醒人们保护所有生物赖以生存的生态环境。那么主词是这个节日，动词是提醒。这个句子在承接上一句呢，是时态是用现在简单式。
Okay, before I left the house this morning, my wife reminded me to pick up milk and eggs on my way home. Speaking of which, remind somebody to verb. When you remind someone to do something, you do or say something so that they do not forget to do that thing. You want to make sure that they remember to do that thing. And that's that. For example, she reminded me to pay the water bill.
Jeff 老师的这个例句是说啊，他提醒我要缴水费。那么 remind 这个动词就是表达提醒或是使什么想起。我们要表达提醒某人做某事，可以用到的句型是 remind somebody to 加原形动词，或者是 remind somebody 加上 that 子句。我们来造两个例句。Gina wrote a note to remind herself to return the library books. Gina 她写一张纸条提醒自己说要还图书馆的书。再看个例句。Linda reminded her husband that they needed to leave early. Linda 提醒她老公，他们必须提早离开哦。Okay, let's move on. We're inching bit by bit toward ecology.
Towards ecology. True, but first things first. All living things depend on or upon, or all creatures rely on or upon. First of all, the term living things can be used to refer to creatures, things that are alive. Yes, living things and creatures are about the same thing. Further, if you depend or rely on or upon something, you survive because of or due to that thing. For example, it is on this reef on which all living things in this area depend. Or, all mammals depend on their mothers when they're young.
Chap 老师的第一个例句是说，这是所有生物赖以为生的礁石。第二个例句是说，所有的哺乳动物在年幼时都必须仰赖母亲的养护照料。好，那我们要翻译所有生物赖以生存，这个英文可以写作 All living things depend 加上 on 或是 upon， 或者是 all creatures rely 加上 on 或是 upon。 好，那这边来看三个重点哦。第一个，生物除了用 creatures 也可以用 living things 来表达。这个形容词 living 就是形容活着的、有生命的，所以 living things 就可以用来表达生物。好，第二个重点，赖以生存我们可以用 depend on、depend upon、rely on、rely upon 来表达。例如Pets depend on their owners to take care of them. 宠物仰赖饲主的照料。第三个重点，我们在翻译所有生物赖以生存的生态环境时，我们就先把生态环境当作先行词，后面再接关系子句来描述，那就可以写作 The ecological environment which was that all living things depend on。 有没有看到关系子句的最后有一个介系词 on？ 好，那么当介系词出现在关系子句的句尾时，我们其实也可以把这个介系词移到关系代名词前方，可是这时候就只能用 which 不能用 that。 好，那所以我们把刚刚说的那个介系词 on 移到 which 前面，就会写作 The ecological environment on which all living things depend。好，那我们用这样方式来造个例句。The town which Sally lives in 或是 that Sally lives in is famous for its hot springs。 好，那如果我们把这个介系词移到关系代名词前面，就只能写作 The town in which Sally lives is famous for its hot springs。 记得不能用 that。 那这个例句就是说 Sally 住的那个城镇以温泉闻名。Okay, let's keep the momentum going. The first half of our lesson will be done.
Yay! Okay, right now let's talk about what the phrase ecological environment means. Ecological environment. Say that 10 times fast. The environment, by the way, is the world that surrounds us and in which we live. We live in the environment, and it sustains us, okay? We need the environment. It is important. But we don't live in this world, in this environment alone, do we? No! Ecology is the study of how living things like us and other things, how we live together and how we affect one another, etc. Ecology teaches us that all living things, including us, depend on one another for survival. For example, this rainforest is a fragile ecological environment.
这是一座生态环境脆弱的雨林，那我们可以用 fragile 来形容它是脆弱的，或是形容东西是易碎的。好，那么至于生态环境的英文是 ecological environment， 其中这个 ecological 就是指生态的或是生态学的，那它的名词 ecology 就是生态学咯。好，我们来造个例句。 The campus boasts a diverse ecological environment and is considered one of the most beautiful in the country. 那个校园里拥有多元的生态环境，而且被认为是该国最美丽的校园之一了。好，那么现在看完相关文法重点，我们可以翻译整个句子喽。So the sentence could be.
This holiday also reminds people to protect the ecological environment on which all living things depend. Okay, everyone, we have now translated the first two sentences of our lesson, and it's time for a break. Don't go away, though. We'll be back with the second half of this month's translation practice soon.
Translation practice. Practice B.
Failure is an experience that people are sure to endure at some point in their lives. We shouldn't fear failure, but try to learn from it and avoid failing again in the same way.
Welcome back. It is time to go ahead and finish this month's translation practice lesson. Let's get on with things. The third sentence of the day is.
好，今天要翻译的第三句是：失败是人们在生命中的某个时刻都一定会承受的经验。那么主词是失败，动词是。好，我们要翻译说，人们在生命中的某个时刻都一定会承受的经验。有没有发现经验前面那个形容词很长，对不对？那我们就可以把经验当作先行词，后面再接关系子句去描述它说是什么样的经验。好，那么这个句子在陈述事实，所以时态用现在简单式。
Okay. Let's talk about a phrase that is somewhat common when it comes to time. At some point in their lives. Now here, a point in your life is a moment or a certain time in your life. Now notice that this is not a specific phrase. It's more general. We're saying that something will happen to someone. It's just not clear when that thing will happen. Also, be careful with your preposition use here. At usually comes at the beginning, while in normally follows the word point. For example, at some point in my life, I am going to climb Mount Everest.
哇 Jeff 老师说他在他的生命中的某个时刻要去爬圣母峰，这应该是在他的人生愿望清单里面吧。好 at some point in their lives 这表示说在生命中的某个时刻，那因为是在翻译说人们在他们生命中的某个时刻会怎么样，所以我们这边才是用所有格 their， 你也可以把它换成 mine your 等等。好，那么另外要特别注意介系词的用法哦，在某个时间在某个时刻这个介系词是用 at， 那么在生命在生活中则是用 in。 好，例如Most people experience loneliness at some point in their lives. 大多数的人在生命中的某个时刻会感受到寂寞。So here's the thing. You can't be sure when this thing is going to happen, but it most likely will. It will happen at some point in your life.
And if this thing is bad, we will have to endure it. But we'll be sure to endure it with strength. ... are sure to endure. If you are sure to endure something, you will definitely go through or suffer through something, and that thing will probably be bad or challenging. But hey, you'll come out on the other side, and you will have survived. Well done. For example, potential astronauts are sure to endure punishing training.
同学们曾经梦想要成为太空人吗？在成为合格的太空人之前，必须得承受繁重累人的训练。好，那我们来看这个用法 ，are sure to endure。表示说一定会承受，那这边有2个重点。第一个 be sure to 表示说一定会怎么样，像是 it's sure to be a fantastic show， 就是说那一定会是一场很精彩的表演。那么第2个重点，这个动词 endure 或者是 suffer 都可以用来表达忍受、承受，像是承受这种痛苦不好的事情等等。例如Unable to endure her back pain anymore, Jane finally went to see a doctor. Jane 没办法再忍受她的背痛，终于去看医生了。好，那么现在看完相关文法重点，我们可以翻译整个句子咯。So, the sentence could be
Failure is an experience that people are sure to endure at some point in their lives.Okay,
with that, it is time to talk about the final sentence of today's lesson. 好，今天要翻译的第4个句子是我们不应该害怕失败，而是要试着从失败中汲取教训和避免重蹈覆辙。好，那么主词是我们，动词是不应该。那么要表达不应该怎么样，而是要怎么样，我们就可以写作 shouldn't 原形动词 but 原形动词。那么这个句子因为是在承接上一句，所以时态也是用现在简单式。
Everyone, we only have 2 more discussions to make before we take a break.
Yay!
With the first of these, let's talk about what it means to learn from something.Learn from it. Failure, everyone, is no fun. But you can learn lessons from failure. By not doing the same wrong things over and over again, you can get better or you can improve. Basically, if you learn from something, you learn a lesson.From something, by observing something, by failing, etc. For example, if you make a mistake, try to learn from it.
如果犯了错，那就设法从中汲取教训。好，那么 learn from something 或者是 learn a lesson from something 就可以表达说从什么当中来汲取教训。例如I think he has learned a lesson from the experience. 我想他从那次的经验当中有学到教训，学了一课了。好，那么要翻译从失败中汲取教训的时候，因为前一句已经有提到失败 failure， 所以我们这边可以用 it 这个代名词来取代它，写作 learn from it。那顺便补充一下 ，failure 当失败来解释时，它是不可数名词；那么它当可数名词的时候，则是可以用来指失败的事或是人。Okay, let's start to wrap things up. Once you've learned from a mistake, you should try to not make that same mistake in the same way again.
Right. You should avoid failing again in the same way. Avoid failing again in the same way. Folks, Hanny summed it up nicely just now.
Well, thank you.
When you've learned from a mistake, you should try to not make that same mistake in the same way again.You should avoid or try hard not to do that same bad or wrong thing again. One note, the verb avoid here should be followed by a verb ing. For example, you should avoid riding your bike on busy roads.
你应该避免在交通繁忙的马路上骑脚踏车，这样还蛮危险的哦。好，那么 avoid 这个动词就表示避免、防止，后面可以接名词或动名词，像是 We should avoid talking about people behind their backs。我们应该要避免在人家背后说三道四。好，那么要翻译避免重蹈覆辙，这个重蹈覆辙就表示以同样的方式再度失败嘛，所以就可以翻译成 avoid failing again in the same way. 好，那么现在看完相关文法重点，我们可以翻译整个句子咯。So the sentence could be,
We shouldn't fear failure, but try to learn from it and avoid failing again in the same way.
Okay, everyone, with that, we are done. Why? Because we are out of time and explanations.
Right. It is time for us to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be back next month.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Uncle Sam is an imaginary figure representing the United States. Also, he has been regarded as a symbol of America. Actually, it all began with a New York businessman named Samuel Wilson. He was also known as Uncle Sam Wilson. During the War of 1812, Wilson gave the U.S. Army packages of beef. The packages were stamped U.S. to show that they belonged to the U.S. government. The local newspaper reported the story, and Wilson became famous. Soon, Uncle Sam became a nickname for the United States government. Wilson died in 1854 at the age of 88. The image of Uncle Sam was used in political cartoons and military posters. By 1900, everyone accepted Uncle Sam as the symbol for the United States. In 1961, the U.S. government officially recognized Samuel Wilson as the person behind the national symbol. Isn't that an interesting story?
Here is more information.
Represent. The flag represents our country. Poster. Lucy put up posters for the concert. Army. John is in the army. Deliver. The mailman delivers the mail. Soldier. Many soldiers joined the war. Package. Helen sent a package to her grandson. Criticize. Many people criticized the new movie. Image. Andy looked at his image in a mirror. Recruitment. The school took pictures of the students for recruitment. Personification. I played a character who was the personification of evil. Did you learn something new today? I hope you did. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again later.
See you next time.